Welcome to Influential Entrepreneurs, bringing you interviews with elite business leaders and experts, sharing tips and strategies for elevating your business to the next level. Here's your host, Mike Saunders.
Hello and welcome to this episode of Influential Entrepreneurs. This is Mike Saunders, the Authority Positioning Coach. Today we have with us Wayne Moloney, who's an Australian business growth specialist and co-author of the Wentworth Prospect. Wayne, welcome to the program.
Hi, Mike. Great to be here. Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to talking with you as well because I know you specialize in B2B sales and business development, and I really think that is such a vital need because I feel that people think, business should just happen. I'm a business and I want to work with or network with another business, but there are intricacies that I know you want to get into. But before we talk about your book, give us a little bit of your background and your entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah, well, look, my background, I started out life as a mechanical engineer and soon realised that the dream that I had going through high school wasn't the reality that I thought it was going to be. And I moved into business management and sales, and that's really where my passion's been. And I've been in sales now for longer than I like to admit, Mike. I've been 40 plus years in it. I've run sales teams and businesses across Europe, Asia and Australia, and in various industries, mainly in ICT, but also working in manufacturing and pollution control, and would you believe also in language schools. So a fairly diverse background there. But
yeah.
My passion is, as you said, it's business growth, it's business development. It's where marketing and sales merge. It's B2B sales. It's getting out there, and I love working with organisations on the complex end of selling.
Do you feel that sales in B2B changes from industry to industry other than just, the terms that they would use? But do you feel like it's similar strategies? It's just, it doesn't matter if it's telecom or banking, it still is B2B sales.
Yeah, I agree with that very much. In times gone by, Mike, people always look for salespeople that had a lot of experience and really a background in an industry, whereas I think, you can learn the domain expertise, but as far as those sales skills are concerned, they're transferable. And one of the things that I'm extremely passionate about and work with any of my clients is making sure that they understand and master the basics of B2B selling. You've got to have a strong foundation on which to build, and all too often, and even more so now, people are out there looking for the silver bullet. What's the latest sales fad? What can I do to go out there and smash my target without having to do as much work as people have done in the past? And of course, that's just a fallacy. You need the foundations, and those foundations are applicable across any industry in B2B selling.
You mentioned silver bullet, and I like to call it the shiny object, and it just seems like anywhere you look online or social media, you see increase your sales by fill in the blank, whatever the new thing is, text this, chat that, automated bot. And I was talking to someone the other day, and they had this software that does that kind of thing. And I said, well, if I were a salesperson, I would worry so much that the artificial intelligence chatbot would say something, even though it's programmed in, but it would say something at the wrong time. So of course, their response is, well, you monitor it, you step in and whatever. But I just think that old-fashioned networking, giving value, getting to know people, providing, service and extra value really just helps you stand out. And sometimes some of the simplest things, like returning a phone call, like responding to an email in a timely fashion, those will help you stand out. And I think that that's something that a lot of newer salespeople aren't willing to do. They want that shiny object.
Yeah, you're so right about that, Mike. And, we talk about B2B, but so much of it is still P2P. It's person to person.
Yep.
People still buy from people. They still buy from people they know, like, trust and respect. Now, I'm not saying, I'm not poo-harring and dismissing technology, far from it. Technology can come in and can do a lot of the things that are more mundane that allows salespeople to actually get out there and do the selling. I mean, there's stats out there that suggest that salespeople spend up to 60% of their time on non-sales activities. Well, if these can be automated, if we can have bots doing some of this, and we can outsource some of that even, it allows salespeople to get out there and build the relationships. And again, there's a lot of people would have you believe that relationship selling's dead. But relationship selling is not about kowtowing to the want and needs of prospects and clients. It's about building that trusted relationship. It's about becoming that cliched term of the trusted advisor. It's about getting to understand the person's business so that you can go along, and you use the term value, that we can actually deliver value, and value can only be defined by the client or the prospect. So what is it that they value? We need to understand that so that we can actually help them come up with an outcome which is positive to them and their business. It's not about our product. It's not about the service we deliver. It's about the outcome that provides to the client. So, that's what we've got to do. That's why the relationships are important, and bots can't do that.
Have you ever done any reading or heard of the speaker Harvey Mackay?
I have. I haven't read any of his stuff, unfortunately, but I have heard of him, Mike, yeah.
Well, one of the things that sticks in my mind with his teachings, because he owned an envelope company and really just was focused on selling. And one of the things that he would teach his salespeople to do is he called it the Mackay 66. And you can Google that, I'm sure, and find a PDF version of it. But basically, it was 66 questions that each one of his salespeople had to complete and fill out with all of their accounts. Now, you don't sit down and say, well, hey, Wayne, what's this? And you don't ask them, like machine gun. You weave it into conversations. You learn about them. You confirm it maybe with these days what you see on social media and online. And what that allows, and it's a work in progress. And I think probably what we would find today is, in his time of training the salespeople, it was personal connection. Every time you spoke and met with people, you would just be talking and learning that, and then you would go back to the car or the office and write down what you learned. These days, people want the magic bullet to go, 66 questions, cool. Google this, okay, got the sheet filled out. But what are you going to do with it? The whole point was not getting there and getting the sheet filled out. The point was developing the relationship as you go.
Absolutely, and that's so good. I'm going to look that up, Mike. Thanks for bringing it up. It
sure.
Sounds great. But we talk about taking the client or the prospect on a thinking journey. The relationship that's built needs to be one that takes the client or the prospect from where they are now to where they could be, to a better place, if you like. So we need to get them on a thinking journey, and we don't necessarily have those 66 questions detailed, but we look at how do you work through the process? How do you open one gate and then close it behind you as you go through each of the steps that are necessary to take the client on that thinking journey, to understand their business, to understand the issues that they're facing, to understand the opportunities that might be there for them, and build that relationship so that you can get them thinking about what that ideal future state or that better future state might be. And do you do that with 66 questions? Do you do that with 60 questions? I don't know. It depends, as you say, on the individual, and it depends on the situation. But to do that, you need to earn a seat at the table. And the only way you can do that is by building your reputation online and offline so that people see you as someone that can deliver value to them at each and every engagement that you have. It's not just the value that you deliver with the final outcome, Mike. It's the value that you deliver at each engagement. There was a Greek philosopher called Theophrastus, and he said the most valuable thing a man can give is his time. And as salespeople, we need to respect that. We need to respect that each time someone gives us their time, they're actually giving up some value. So we need to fill that void with value that is greater than what they're giving up.
100%. And I think that it's A lot of people, and we're talking about sales, feel like it's the old, I don't know, the Jerry Lewis movies you see where the bellhop and you would take the bags up to the room and then the bellhop would stand there with their hand out waiting for the tip. It's like, okay, I did this. Give it to me. What's in it for me? And I think that salespeople think, oh, well, whatever it is, I friended you on Facebook. I liked your content. Obviously you're going to whip out your credit card and buy my thing, or I had a sales call with you, or I bought you lunch. So I would like to ask, in your book, one of the sections is engage. What are some of the tips you have on salespeople properly and effectively engaging?
Well, it's really interesting on that, because engaging starts before you actually engage directly with the client. That engagement is with your market. It's with your ideal clients. It's how you go about building yourself a solid professional profile. And we talk in the book about the hero of the book is a girl called Sue. And we talk in the book about how she built her profile by writing on LinkedIn and in other media valuable stories about what's happening in the industry, so that she started to be seen as that. She got herself positioned to be able to participate on podcasts like this. She participated in events where she was a guest speaker, or a keynote speaker. So that's engagement is not just with the client. Engagement is with your target market. So that's the first thing. The second thing, as far as engagement is concerned, and this comes down to prospecting, and it's one of the things that we look for and we talk about in the book, is looking for trigger events. What are things that might happen to a client or within your industry that may be something that's about to disrupt what's happening with that client or with that industry, that allows you to then go and use the experience that you've got and the credibility that you've built up and that expert status that you've built up, to be able to approach these people and suggest to them that you are a good reason for them to be talking to you. So you're looking for those trigger events. And the other thing, of course, is in engaging with people, one thing that, and I talk a lot about basics of sales and foundations, look for referrals. Again, we talk about that building up of trust. Referrals are just such a great way to engage with clients or with prospects. If you see someone, if you've got a trigger event, jump onto LinkedIn, see who's connected that's connected with you also, and can they assist you with some form of introduction or referral to that individual. So they're two of the simplest ways to engage. You engage with your industry and your target market, then you look at ways that you can then engage with the ideal client and the specific ideal client. And in the Wentworth Prospect, the trigger is the Wentworth Bank is actually hit by a hacking event, which cost them significantly. And Sue has been able to build up the trust in the past by the profile she's built up, as when she then approached them, they were open to engaging with her.
It's interesting. One of the things you mentioned is, reaching out and having a trigger event and then having people see you as a trustworthy source. And I think that takes some work ahead of time. Like, anyone can pick up the phone and start dialing 100 people a day. And I think the problem that a lot of people think is they want instant results, but they're not willing to lay that solid foundation. And it comes to mind, I see this frequently. People still use AOL or Hotmail or Yahoo as their email. Well, in business, if you are a consultant and you're emailing someone from Hotmail, that's not professional. And there's an old book. Here's another little tip if you ever are interested in this. I discovered it a few months ago from 1967 by Marshall McLuhan. And the book is called The Medium is the Message. And in it, he teaches that where your content is seen is as important as the actual content. So let's say that you are a B2B salesperson and you're working in a specific industry. You may have a solution to the problem they're facing, and you may be able to email them, I can help you, let's talk. Well, who says you can help? Just the fact that you emailed me. But what if you had maybe some tips or some teaching content that you had on authoritative platforms, like what if you had a podcast interview that talked about their hot point, their trigger button, and you could send them that podcast interview specifically on that one problem. Now they see you as more than just a salesperson. They see you as that trusted advisor because you are out there either interviewing people or being seen, or of course other things like you have a book or things like that. But some of the easy things for salespeople, just get interviewed on a podcast in the industry and talk about some of the hot points that your prospects have. And now you can use that content to break the ice and set the stage for that phone call.
Yeah, and again, we talk about technology, the podcast, and these are great. And I'm really enjoying this chat that we're having. But I go back, and as I said, I've been in the industry for 40 years. Before podcasts, before email, I used to go through business magazines and industry magazines and look for articles that would be of interest to prospects that I was working with.
Yeah.
I'd photocopy them, stick them in an envelope, and send them through with a note of why I'm sending it to them and why I think it might be of interest to them and why it might be valuable for them for us to at least get on the phone and have a chat for 10 minutes. So again, you were talking about that shiny new thing. The shiny new thing is the technology. The foundation is the same. It's about
it's giving value.
It's giving value, Mike. Exactly.
Well, let me tell you something. Because technology is so prominent, I think that finding those magazine articles and dropping it in the mail is more impactful now than ever.
Mike, it's really funny you say that. I mentored at Western Sydney University, and I mentored at their startup incubator on sales. And I have one young guy, and extremely smart guy, really bright. And I was on the phone with him one day, on a Zoom call, mentoring him, and he was saying, I'm just having trouble getting through to clients, or to prospects. I know who they are, and we'd worked through defining ideal clients. And he said, I just can't get through to them. I phone them, and they don't call back. I send emails, they don't respond. And I said, have you sent them a letter?
Yeah.
And he stopped, and he just stared at me in disbelief. And he said, what do you mean? And I said, a handwritten note, put it in an envelope, put a stamp on it, and send it to them. And he didn't believe me. He said, he was just dumbfounded. And anyhow, I convinced him to try it, and it cut through. He got a call back, and he didn't just get the call back, he got the appointment, and that appointment then led to ongoing business. But it was just that you do something different. What can you do to cut through? And that letter, the letter, how many times do you get a letter in front of you that you don't open?
Right.
I open every one. How many emails do I not open? Quite a few.
Well, so, I've got something, and so here's, let's wrap up with this thought, because I think this is so powerful what we're uncovering. Let's use cutting edge technology with old school execution. And I have right now, you and I are doing a podcast interview, and I have in my hand I don't know how many inches, maybe 6 inches long, 3 inches wide. So it's a long rectangle cardboard card that I got in the mail yesterday from a gentleman that I'm going to interview in 3 days on my podcast. He sent me, it's one of these, custom, it's got his logo and some of his books and social media, but he put a handwritten note. Hi, Mike. Thanks for the great conversation this morning. I hope you have a great summer. Looking forward to our interview. Kevin. That is how you make an impression, because yes, he's on social media. Yes, we're going to do a podcast interview, but then it's rather than just going, oh, there's just another conversation. This person knows. And how much time and effort did that cost? Maybe effort 4 minutes, to write that quick note and put a stamp on it, and maybe 38 cents for the postcard deal and whatever else. It's those kind of things that if you are in B2B sales that you must do to stand out. And then now you are perceived as someone that, okay, I'm going to give you that, like baseball at bat. You get enough at bats, you're going to make some sales.
Yeah. And look, what that does also is it helps you earn respect.
Yeah.
Because people see that you've gone that extra mile, that you've actually thought about them rather than I'll just knock out a quick email. And how often do we see those emails that are template emails anyhow?
Yep.
But yeah, it makes you stand out, and it brings that last aspect that I spoke about. I spoke about know, like, and trust. Well, the last one is respect, and you can't demand respect; you can only earn it. And doing little things like that helps you earn respect.
100%. Well, Wayne, it's been such a great time chatting with you today. What's the best way that someone can reach out, connect with you, and then also learn more about your book, The Wentworth Prospect?
Yeah, look, I love people just reaching out to me on LinkedIn, and that's Wayne Moloney, and that's Moloney. I've also got a website, waynemoloney.com. And the Wentworth Prospect, well, that was a book that was a long time in the making, and it's a novel guide to success in B2B sales. And novel, we mean that literally, because the book's actually written as a page-turning novel, and it takes you on a guide of, as I said, Sue through closing her biggest deal. And throughout the book, there are links to our website, and our website then guides you through the technicalities of that as to the processes and methodologies she's used along the way. So I wrote that with two colleagues, John Smivett and Jeff Clulo, and we were very fortunate that it launched as a number one bestseller in sales and selling techniques and training. And it's gone really well, and a lot of good feedback on it. So highly recommend it to anyone working in B2B sales.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Wayne. It was really great to talk with you today, and we'll make sure that the link to your website is in the show notes.
Great. Fabulous. Thanks so much, Mike. Really appreciate it.
You've been listening to Influential Entrepreneurs with Mike Saunders. To learn more about the resources mentioned on today's show or listen to past episodes, visit www.influentialentrepreneursradio.com.